This episode is brought to you by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast. It provides podcasters with a flat rate for ad space, so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co, and be sure to add the Cels and Circuits podcast in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application, which really helps out the show. Hello, and welcome to the Cels and Circuits podcast. I am your host, Chibeze Anakor, and on our 1-year anniversary episode, we'll be taking a look back at some of the best moments from the past year, and we'll be reflecting on them, as well as asking some questions on where Cels and Circuits goes next. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right. So first up, let's get into all of the reflective questions and these forward-looking questions for our anniversary episode. So first up, I asked myself, what was my favorite animation segment that I've done within the past year? And my answer would be the rise of non-comedic adult animation from episode 2, which I did with my friend Michael Crusoe, who does some content at the Lunchbox publications. So definitely check that out. But that episode, or that segment, was a pretty awesome segment because we went through the white papers, and just looking forward to everything that came out within the past year. It was a lot of fun, and with us both being animation fans, it was just a very fun episode. It was a very fun segment and a fun episode. So, very happy about that episode and that segment in particular. So, next up, I asked myself, what was my favorite technology segment that I did within the past year? And I would have to say it would be covering Google's Launch Night In, which was from episode 17. And that was pretty awesome because I got to break down everything that Google announced at that event. And as someone who's into the Google ecosystem, quite a lot, I think that I'm, somewhat qualified to kind of break that down. I'm not someone like Robbie Payne from Chrome Unboxed or someone else who has a very familiar history or industry insight into what Google does. But I can say that as someone who's used their products extensively throughout the past couple of years, I would like to think that I had some sort of insight, but that's just me. Maybe I'm just being a bit too self-important. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just placing too much self-importance. I don't know. But either way, that was my favorite technology segment that I've done within the past year. So next up, I asked myself, what was my favorite episode? And I would probably say episode 2 was my favorite episode. And again, it's just me and my friend Michael Crusoe talking about, animation and tech. We talked about the rise of non-comedic adult animation. And we also talked about a couple of other things too. We talked about, that was also the first part of the PS5 versus Xbox Series X series. I guess it was PS5 versus Xbox series. And also talked about animation's role in the streaming wars. So if you missed that, definitely I'll refer you to that episode so you can check it out. But in the meantime, that episode was pretty great. We had an in-depth conversation about that, and I'm very happy about that episode. Definitely think it's one of the best work that's this podcast has put out. So next up, who would be my favorite guest that I've had on the show within the past year? And if you've listened to this podcast, this person who I'm going to mention has been on here 3 times. So, and he is, of course, Avery from Stadia Source. He's definitely someone who is very honest and is, you could tell he's passionate about what he does at Stadia Source. Well, I guess it's now Gaming Source Network because they recently rebranded, but either way, he's definitely a creator who I look up to, and he does some great content over at Gaming Source Network and Stadia Source, which is still a thing, and probably also does content for GeForce Now Source, which recently just launched. But you could definitely tell that he is someone who is, 1, honest, and 2, passionate about what he does. And honestly, that's really what you should expect from a creator. And I'm very happy that I've had him on the show. And of course, Avery, if you're listening, you're always welcome on the show. Would love to do more segments with you. But yeah. Let's see, what else? So next up is, I asked myself, what was the episode that I was the most proud of? And that episode is definitely episode 30, which was a recent episode that I did at the beginning of last month with with Justin from Paratope USA. He was kind enough to spend some time with me to talk about his company's upcoming game, Sky Climbers. And so I'm very happy I got to interview him, and it ended up being my first industry interview. And so, yeah, I'm eternally grateful to Justin and the team at Paratope for reaching out and letting me or lending me their time, because they didn't have to do that, but very happy that they did, and that I was able to get an industry guest within the first year of this show being a thing. So, thank you, Paratope, and thank you, Justin, for, just spending the time talking about like the inspirations and the representation and all of the other things that I had asked in that interview. So if you missed that, go check out episode 30 of the show and come back. But next up, I asked myself, what was an episode that I regretted doing? And honestly, I don't regret any of the episodes that I've done. Even the most controversial one, which has to be episode 14, which I did say some pretty controversial stuff in that episode. I don't regret making it, because these are things that I just needed to get off of my chest. So if you missed that episode and you want to, and if you want to listen to it, you can go back and listen to it. But, fair warning, there's some controversial content in there. So, yeah. So don't say you haven't been warned. Just saying. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for all of the reflecting questions. So now I just want to get into what my goals are for the next year. And that was something that I asked myself. And I came up with 3 things. First is I wanted to get more interviews, particularly in the animation and tech spaces. As I mentioned earlier, I already got one interview in the gaming space, thanks to Paratope and the team over working on Sky Climbers. So I would like to I would like to pick the brains of people who work in the animation and tech spaces, since those are the 2 topics that this podcast is all about. And then next up, I wanted to do more collaborations with other creators. So far, not really doing too hot in 2021 on the collaboration side. I only did one collaboration, which was with Paratope, but I know I need to do better with that. in 2021. So I should definitely reach out to other creators to see if maybe we could work on stuff together, but we'll see. I do want to collaborate with other creators like I did last year, with Avery from Stadia Source, excuse me, the Well Spoken Token. I also collaborated with the Dorks and Tea podcast hosts, which shout out to them. And I've also collaborated with my friend Devin Mervin, who also launched a podcast last year called Drink Up, I believe. I believe that's the name of it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much, or I think those were like most of the people who I collaborated with, and I of course want to collaborate with more people, so definitely want to do that more this year, and I'm gonna try and make that happen. And then next up, I want to incorporate some regular gaming content on the Cels and Circuits YouTube and Twitch channels. So by the time this episode goes live, tonight I will be doing an anniversary stream on YouTube. I'll be playing 5 games in 5 hours. So from 7 p.m. Eastern to midnight Eastern, I'll be playing some video games, and you can come hang out, and maybe even play some of those video games with me. Who knows? But yeah, definitely want to. Definitely want to incorporate some regular gaming content on our YouTube and Twitch channels. Thankfully, with cloud gaming services like Stadia, I can stream directly to YouTube without having an expensive gaming PC, though I am saving up my coins to get a gaming PC so I can, do some better streams and stuff like that. But for now, since I'm just starting out, I'll most likely be using the direct to YouTube streaming feature in Stadia. But yeah, so definitely be on the lookout for some more gaming content on the Cels and Circuits YouTube and Twitch channels. And then another thing that I asked myself is, how would I expand Cels and Circuits? Because I do eventually want to expand just beyond this podcast that I'm doing. So for me, I would like to get into video content. Now, I don't know if I would, point a camera at my face or use some sort of avatar, or just be talking over some like gaming content or some like cartoon or anime trailers, or some clips of cartoons or anime, or some clips of like tech demos and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know what that would look like, but I do want to get into video content in some way, shape, or form. So I will definitely be exploring that within the next year. I hope to at least put out something, because it's pretty clear that people like video content. I especially knew that because the Sky Climbers interview, at least the video version of that, did very well on YouTube. It's probably the most viewed YouTube video outside of the trailer on the Cels and Circuits YouTube channel. So that's pretty awesome. And it makes me want to get more into video content. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this anniversary episode. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know what your favorite moment from the Cels and Circuits podcast has been in the past year. Was it a specific segment? Was it an entire episode? Definitely let me know on social media or on Discord, and we can continue the conversation there. But that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Cels and Circuits podcast, the place for tunes, tech, and where they intersect. Let me know what you think of any of the topics discussed on social media or on Discord via the Flow page link in the show notes. If you like this content, share it on social media and give it a review to help more people find it. If you want to see even more content just like this, consider supporting Cels and Circuits on Ko-fi or visiting the Cels and Circuits shop. The Cels and Circuits podcast was written, produced, and edited by me, Chibeze Anakor. Our intro, outro, and transition music was made by Tiffy3. That'll do it for this episode. So until next time, I'm Chibeze, signing off.